Waymaker Global Trade Solutions. Thina Nodada, it's great to talk to you. And I imagine that even this, I don't think we can call it a reprieve, but this new 7 August deadline, it's not much of a warning. There's no way that it allows for any more preparation that already has been put in place.
Hi, good afternoon, Michelle, and great to be here again. Yeah, no, I don't see any major changes happening within 7 days. I think that we can accept what has been placed as the 30% tariff that we have with the US. And like the president has been saying, like Minister Park has been saying, they will continue negotiating with the US. I think there is still room for negotiation, but I don't think it's going to be an easy negotiation, and I don't think it's one that we can predict whether it have a positive or a negative outcome.
So the Trade and Industry Minister yesterday, Park Style, gave quite a wide-ranging briefing as we were counting down the hours to the tariff coming into effect today on the 1st of August, which was what initially was the date. And part of what he announced was a set of measures, he says, to try to mitigate the impact of this 30% hike. The establishment of an export support desk for companies affected by the US tariff hike is one of them, one of the measures that have been put in place. So this desk will give updates on developments and also give advice to exporters on alternative destinations, just as an example. What do you think of that intervention?
Yeah, so I think it's good. I think it's a bit unfortunate that we are still being reactive instead of proactive. So would this export desk exist if Trump hadn't put these tariffs in place? No. But these are things that we've needed all along within the international trade space. I think that it's also quite important that they really clarify what the export or export desk is doing. Is it providing information for markets that are viable, and or is it also working to open up markets? I don't think exporters in South Africa struggle to get information on which markets are possibly viable, that's easily accessible. But what we struggle with is finding information on whether or not our products can actually enter that country or not. And that's where I would like to see that export desk really putting in a lot of effort. We've seen that the agriculture industry is one of the most affected industries, and they're going to have one of the biggest job losses as a result of Trump's tariffs. However, we would like to see government opening up markets, because I can sit here, Michelle, and tell you about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and how amazing it is. And yes, it is a good thing, and it does provide opportunities. But we're not opening ourselves up to all the opportunities because we do not have trade protocols with a number of countries on the continent which prevent us from trading these specific products. So, for example, some of our poultry products cannot get into certain markets, even on our fruits for that matter. So are we allowed to trade with countries, and those countries that we cannot? What is the export desk doing to open up that trade channel? If they can do that, that will do amazing things for opening up trade channels for South Africa.
Yeah, and hopefully the minister is listening to this interview. I mean, you know, the minister spoke at a number of platforms in the wake of the decision by Trump, and Trump announced a whole range of new executive orders outlining tariffs for 60 countries, 60 or so countries. Some of them saw a revised tariff, revised down in some cases, but South Africa stayed at this massive 30%. So when we talk about, you know, resubmitting our proposal, which I think the minister has said on a number of occasions, discussions are ongoing, we're resubmitting our proposal. Why do you think that there would not have been movement? Do you think, and maybe this is beyond your purview, but do you think at all that this is around political issues? One of the things Parks Towers said, for example, is that there have been efforts made by political parties like the DA, for example, reckless statements, he called them, which undermine the progress we've made towards this 1st of August deadline. Do you get a sense that it's political in nature as well?
Okay. Yeah. So let me taking me a bit away from international trade and moving me to politics, but why not? Look, if we look at it, these things intertwine. International trade will always have something to do with politics. So we look at, there was the genocide, farmer genocide that Trump has spoken about, which he hasn't moved away from. He's still been mentioning it online and X platforms in recent weeks. So there's that aspect. And then the other aspect is you have policies that Trump is and the Trump administration is not happy with, which I think being the BE policy, which they've clearly had engagements on with South African parties. AfriForum has been to the US for that. So I think those play a part. So one being BEE policies. I think that's one. The genocide also being a problem. And then again, looking at Trump and his links to Elon Musk and what happened with Starlink trying to get in here. I know that Donald Trump and Elon Musk's relationship is no longer the same right now, but it did highlight some of the political happenings in South Africa, and then also what you're seeing in Israel as well, interfering with what they saw as international politics, international matters where they may have not seen the need for South Africa to be involved. And we also had our ambassador removed from the United States a couple of months back. So we are in muddy waters with the US from a political perspective, and the efforts that have been made have not proven to bear any fruit as of yet.
I mean, that's the only explanation that makes sense, right? The Department of International Relations has also said it really is all about our domestic policies, and it doesn't matter what economic proposal that South Africa puts on the table to the US. Parkstar also saying that South Africa has offered a package with concessions, lowering tariff barriers to US food imports, buying US gas, we know about that one, committing local companies to investing in US mining and recycling. None of this seemed to be enough.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been. You talk about the lowering tariffs of products coming in where, we don't agree with President Trump in terms of the figures that he puts when he says we're just putting reciprocal tariffs. How he comes to these numbers is still a bit muddy to us as well. But when it comes to US products coming in to South Africa, I think that there's room to lower tariffs there that would make US products more attractive for South African buyers and would also land it at a lower cost. So, for example, if you look at our fertilizer sector, which has got a lot of US companies bringing into SA, if we could lower that, and these are things that we could have possibly seen before and negotiated with the US because we were benefiting out of AGOA, where we were landing our products in the US at 0% duties. And it's no secret that South Africa has benefited out of AGOA more than any other parties involved, any other African parties involved in AGOA.
So talk to us then, Thina, just as a sort of a parting shot. The impact of what's happening globally in terms of the economy, the economies of the world, these tariffs, and the way that these trade relations are being conducted. How do you see this impacting? Because do you think, for one, that the US is behaving from the perspective of being the #1 economy in the world? And secondly, what's going to be the impact on US consumers? They will surely not walk away from all of this unscathed.
No, 100%. So I think that the US, what Donald Trump is trying to do is improve industrial output from the US and maintain global superpower and being the #1 industrial country in the world. But that has since changed from competition from China. So I think that the consumers are definitely going to feel it. It's something that they were always going to feel because they now also have to realign their own supply chains. So that farmer or that retailer or wholesaler that was importing citrus from this, let me use citrus as an example, that cold storage or distributor in the US that was importing citrus is now paying 30% more for what they were importing. And 30% is significant when the volumes become big. We're not talking about hundreds here. We're talking in the millions, in the hundreds of millions. So in that aspect, they need to go find someone else who's going to supply them the same product, the same volumes, the same quality, in the same time frame. And that's all going to change. And how they find those people, we don't know. But you must understand, things like citrus are very seasonal, which area it comes from, when the harvesting is, and that's in that area, depends on seasons. So they are going to be shaken up. I think the US consumers right now in the short term are going to feel it the most. And I believe that President Trump's outlook, his idea isn't flawed, but by increasing tariffs and increasing industrial output and workflow from the US. However, the how it will actually play out in reality is where I'm really worried. I don't know if US citizens have the appetite to work and will be able to actually put that output as what the other areas are currently doing. I'm not sure if they can do that, and I'm not sure if they want to do that, Michelle. I think they're quite happy with the way things are. And this will require a change in mind from them, and also, yeah, they will be hit with higher costs at the table for their goods.
Yeah, I mean, I did say that was my last question, but now you've got me going. In terms of our next steps, it must surely be to pursue new markets, right? Do you reckon we've done the groundwork? But perhaps before you answer that, Thina, I like the fact that you use citrus as an example, because we've spoken to a number of farmers as well. And they talk about being hammered by the tariff increases. But which other industries, before we get to the issue of laying the groundwork, which other industries, agriculture is certainly one of them, but which others will be the worst affected here?
Well, it's really the automotive sector, aluminium and steel. Your precious stones and precious metals are not affected. The US would never do that or make a decision like that. But steel, aluminium and automotive sector, yes.
Thina, let me thank you for your time. I would have loved for you to answer that last question, but we're going to some developing news now.